Right now, if you lost power in your home on a cold winter night, you'd probably be in real trouble within hours. Your walls, your clothes, your heating system, everything around you is designed to keep you warm. But for most of human history, there were no houses, no jackets, no central heating. Yet, somehow, your ancestors survived winters that make your worst snowstorm look like a mild breeze. So how did they not just freeze to death? How did humans make it through the Ice Age, when glaciers stretched across continents and temperatures dropped to levels that would kill most of us in days? The answer is not what you think. It's not just about fire or fur or some hidden genetic superpower. The real reason is much stranger, and it comes down to how humans changed their own bodies, minds, and even each other. Let's start with what we know for sure. About 2 million years ago, early humans like Homo erectus started leaving Africa. By the time Homo sapiens appeared, about 300,000 years ago, they were already walking into colder and colder places. The real test came between about 115,000 and 12,000 years ago, a time scientists call the last glacial maximum. Huge parts of North America, Europe, and Asia were covered in ice sheets up to 2 miles thick. In places like what is now Germany or France, the average temperature during winter could drop below -10 degrees Celsius, and sometimes much lower. So how do we know people were really there? In 1906, researchers in southern France found the Cro-Magnon rock shelter, with skeletons of Homo sapiens who lived around 28,000 years ago. Their bones were mixed with the remains of mammoths, reindeer, and even woolly rhinoceroses. These were not people clinging to the edges of the glaciers. They were living right in the heart of the Ice Age. The first weapon against the cold was fire. We know this for a fact because of a cave called Wonderwork in South Africa. In 2012, Michael Chazan and his team from the University of Toronto found ash and burned bones in sediments nearly 1 million years old. That's not just campfires from yesterday. That's controlled fire from before Homo sapiens even existed. Fire was a heater, a light source, and a way to cook meat that would have been nearly impossible to eat raw in freezing weather. But here's the thing, fire alone is not enough. You can't carry a campfire with you while you hunt mammoth across a frozen plain. You can't survive blizzards just by huddling in front of a flame. This brings us to clothing. For a long time, scientists thought early humans must have been half-naked, toughing it out. But in 2011, a team led by David Reed at the University of Florida traced the origins of body lice. Why does that matter? Because body lice only live in clothing. Their DNA shows they split from head lice about 170,000 years ago. That means humans were wearing sewn clothing by then, probably made from animal hides. In 1986, archaeologists found a bone needle in Sabutu Cave in South Africa, dated to about 61,000 years ago. A needle is not just a sharp stick. It means fitted clothes, sewn to cover every inch of skin, something you absolutely need to survive sub-zero temperatures. This is the same kind of technology you use every time you zip up a parka. But here's one that sounds made up, but isn't: shelter. In 1965, the Ukrainian village of Mezhirich revealed something wild. Archaeologists uncovered huts made from hundreds of mammoth bones and tusks, arranged in circles, with fire pits inside. These structures are at least 15,000 years old. Imagine building your house out of the bones of the animals you hunt, then lining it with their skins to block the wind. These shelters were not just piles of bones. They were engineered to trap heat, store food, and keep out predators. And this was happening in a world where winter lasted most of the year. Now let's talk about food. Most animals in the Ice Age survived by eating grass, but humans are not built for that. The answer was meat, and lots of it. In 2012, Hervé Bautrins at the University of Tübingen analyzed the bones of Ice Age humans from sites like Goyet Cave in Belgium. The nitrogen isotopes in the bones show that these people were eating diets as high in meat as wolves and hyenas. Fat from mammoths, reindeer, and horses was pure energy, and it kept their bodies burning hot even in the coldest months. This is not a paleo diet fad. This is raw survival. But here's the pivot, the part almost nobody talks about. Even with fire, clothes, shelter, and food, humans should have died out in the Ice Age. Why? Because compared to other animals, our bodies are laughably bad at surviving cold. You don't have thick fur. Your fingers and toes freeze fast. You're not a bear, you can't hibernate. So why didn't we just disappear? The real answer is social technology. Humans did not survive the Ice Age because of what they carried or wore. They survived because of each other. Look at the archaeological evidence from places like Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic. In 1926, excavations there found not just mammoth bone huts, but communal ovens, clay figurines, and burial sites with multiple people laid out together. This was a group effort. People hunted in teams, built shelters together, shared food, and took care of the sick and the old. In 2014, a study led by Eric Trinkoz at Washington University looked at skeletons from Ice Age Europe and found clear signs of injuries that had healed over months, even years. Some people had lost limbs, broken bones, or suffered from arthritis, yet survived long after these wounds. You don't survive a broken leg in the Ice Age unless someone else brings you food and keeps you warm. The social glue went deeper than just sharing. Anthropologists like Richard Wrangham at Harvard have argued that humans are the only primate with obligate interdependence. That means you literally cannot survive alone, especially in harsh environments. In practical terms, this meant division of labor. Some hunted, some gathered plants, some watched children, some built shelters. This system allowed humans to adapt to almost any environment, from the tropics to the tundra. And it's written into your DNA. The urge to share, to help, to build together, is not just kindness. It's how your ancestors made it through an ice age that would have killed any lone wanderer. Here's the twist. Humans even changed physically to deal with the cold, but not in the way you might think. In 1834, Georges Cuvier, a French naturalist, first described the thick-boned skeletons of Neanderthals from sites like La Chapelle-aux-Saints. Neanderthals had wide noses, stocky bodies, and short limbs, all adaptations for conserving heat. But modern humans did not evolve the same thick bones or squat shapes. Instead, we adapted culturally, not just biologically. When you look at the burial from Sunghir in Russia, dated to about 34,000 years ago, you see children buried in elaborate clothing, with beads and ivory ornaments. This was not just practical. It was symbolic, a sign that humans were using culture, ritual, and identity to keep groups together in the hardest times. Now, some of you are probably thinking, but what about genetics? Did humans evolve to be cold-resistant? There is some evidence for genetic adaptation. In 2015, Pontus Skoglund at the Harvard Medical School studied the genomes of ancient Siberians and found mutations linked to fat metabolism and shivering. But these changes are tiny compared to the massive cultural leap of building shelters, sewing clothes, and living together. The main weapon was not in our genes. It was in our minds and our social ties. Let's recap the spine. First, early humans mastered fire, with evidence from wonderwork cave 1 million years ago. Then, they invented real clothing, tracked by the DNA of body lice and bone needles from Sibutu Cave. They built shelters from mammoth bones, as seen at Mezhirich, and ate huge amounts of animal fat, proven by isotope studies in Belgium. But the real breakthrough was social, group living, division of labor, and caring for each other, shown in burial sites, healed injuries, and shared technology from Dolní Věstonice to Sunghir. Physical changes played a small part, but the driving force was culture and cooperation. Here's the part that matters for you. Every winter coat, every hot meal, every group text checking in on a friend during a storm is part of the same strategy that kept your ancestors alive when glaciers covered the world. You are here because people took care of each other, shared what they had, and built something bigger than themselves. The Ice Age did not just test human bodies. It tested what makes us human. And the answer is not toughness or brute strength. It's the ability to look after each other when the world turns cold. If you want to dig deeper into any of this, all the research is linked down in the description.